Howdy, welcome back to Dion Talk. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why I'm happy that I lost money on a property I didn't even buy. And this was actually kind of close to the beginning of my investing in real estate career. And to be fair, I wasn't happy at the time. It's only looking back from where I'm at now that I'm happy that I lost money on this deal that I didn't get. And before I get into this, I want to tell you that at the end of today's video, I'm going to finally explain the logo that's on my shirt. I've received several messages in the Facebook groups that we're in, the official BiggerPockets real estate group and the real estate rookie group, asking what this is. I'm going to explain that today. And on the note of the Facebook groups, I just want to take a second to say thank you for posts like this. When somebody takes the time to let someone else know that they agree with what I'm saying, I really appreciate it. But tell your girlfriend I'm really, really sorry. On the topic of today's video, towards the beginning of my investing, I think I have the same problem that a lot of investors do. I've worked with a lot of people and helped them reach financial independence by buying small multifamily or single family houses and generating enough cash flow to make work optional. But when starting out, when I finally did the research and I knew my strategy and I've narrowed down my niche and I figured out that when money's sitting in a bank, it's not doing anything for me. And when I take the money out and I put it into a property, the cash on cash return increases how much money I make. So I really got this mental need to put that money to work, but I couldn't find a good deal. So I started widening my search to try to find a deal that would work instead of staying in my lane and finding the deals that I knew worked at the right price, in the right areas, with the right criteria that helped me limit tenant turnover. And a deal popped up that wasn't ideal. It was a duplex. It was significantly more than what I had intended to spend. And I made an offer a bit under their asking price because I think everybody realized that this place was listed for too high. And my offer, after some back and forth negotiating, was accepted. I had even raised it further than what I wanted to pay, but I just wanted to get a deal. I just wanted to get more cash flow. Mentally, I knew this place was listed for more than it was probably worth. I offered more than I really wanted to pay, and I got it accepted. I called and I scheduled the appraisal, and I called and scheduled the inspection. I hadn't even been to the property yet. I haven't even done a drive-by. It met really basic criteria, but not even close to what I normally hunt for. But as an early investor, emotions took over and I just wanted to make a purchase. I go to the property on the same day as the appraisal and the inspection. So the appraiser is scheduled to be there at around 2. The inspection is going to start around 3. Appraisals are a lot faster than inspections. So I was hoping to have that one done before the other guy came and they wouldn't be in the way. I wanted to get it all done in one day so that we wouldn't actually interrupt the days of the tenants more than necessary. I'm standing there with my agent, and the listing agent show up and we're talking, and I'm such a new investor. I'm talking about how much more expensive this place is than the duplexes around here, how it's more expensive than the duplex that I purchased not too long ago. And I'm hoping that it appraises high enough for me to qualify for lending. How many times in your life do you hope for the price of something to be high enough for you to buy it? New investor, still learning. Appraiser leaves, inspector shows up. Walking around with the inspector, the first few times I purchased a property, I went with the inspector and I went through room by room by room with them, watched them go into the crawl space, watched them go on the roof, watched them test everything, learned what they were looking for. And one thing I've learned is even if I knew exactly what I was looking for, I would still pay for a professional inspection because it gives you a third-party opinion of the property, which is a strong negotiating tool when you're trying to get that price where you want it when you're asking for concessions. During the inspection, we find that there's a water leak in one of the bathrooms that has gone into the flooring, through the wall, underneath the cabinets in the kitchen, and it's got into the joists. So this is a pretty big repair. The sliding glass doors need replaced because they've failed and their seals in between the glasses is bad. There were fireplaces and one of the brick fireplaces had deflected from the wall. So looking at this place, price too high, needs a lot of work. I get that inspection report. And a couple of days later, the appraisal comes back, and the appraisal, without knowing about the fireplace or the water leak or that the doors need replaced, so literally not knowing about all of the major repairs that are going to be done, the appraisal was $50,000 low. My reaction as a baby investor was to be angry at the appraiser. So somebody who has training and experience and has been doing this for years estimates the price of a house. And I'm angry because it's not high enough for me to take out a massive loan to buy this house at too high a price. I'm not happy with the house because of all the repairs that need done. So I'm angry and unhappy, but I want this deal to happen. I still wanted to spend more money than I had. My agent was able to educate me, and he said that occasionally a low appraisal is something that happens, and we have some options. One of them is to dispute the appraisal. Somebody else suggested that I talk to more lenders, that was just the appraiser that was sent out with that lender. I found a lender who was willing to do the loan for the accepted offer amount, regardless of what the actual appraisal was. So it looked like I had some progress. I was going to be able to get financing, even though I was paying too much, and this place needed way too much work. Still learning. While walking through the units with the inspector and talking to tenants, I actually learned something else that was pretty awesome too. I usually ask the tenants that if tomorrow they were the owner of this property, what is the first thing that they would change? This is kind of my way of getting a to-do list of what matters to the tenants so that I can fix some really simple things right when I take ownership and develop a good relationship with the tenants right off the bat. I actually really prefer to purchase properties that have tenants in them already. People call these inherited tenants. And I have a really strong tool that gets the tenants to ask for higher rents and longer leases. I have a video on that. I'm going to leave a link to it at the end of this video. But while talking to these tenants, I found out the tenants didn't pay a deposit and no first or last rents. That what they had done on their lease was agreed to a higher rent amount for the first year that they were there. A couple $100 higher than what their actual rent was, so that the owner would be collecting every month what they considered a deposit, or a first and last month's rent, but just in the rent. So at the end of their lease, which was a few months out, these tenants expected their rent to go down by that amount. And when you buy a property, one of the things that the title company does is it collects out of the purchase price the deposits and first and last rents of the current tenants and sends that to the new owner, which was me. So I wouldn't be getting that check. These tenants didn't actually pay that, and the rent was going to go down. So when you're evaluating a property and you're figuring out your cash-on-cash return, which I am going to make a video on how to do that, but not today. You can't rely on what the listing agent says the rents should be, and you actually can't rely on what the current leases say the rents can be, because it's possible that they're inflated to do something like this. So I was able to finally step back and think, okay, this place is costing me way too much. It needs way too much work. The rents are going to go down. This is not working out in my favor at all. But there's something to be aware of, especially as a new investor. There is a thing called the sunk cost fallacy. That's when you invest time, effort, or money into something. You will stay committed to something past when it makes sense. So this is what I was running into with this property. I had spent $600 on an appraisal, $550 on an inspection. Yes, inspections can be done for cheaper, but for a duplex, the price is a little bit more. I had spent my time, and as a new investor, I was really wanting this deal to go through because a new deal means more cash flow. And it was really hard. For a period of 6 months, maybe a year, I struggled with how much money and how much time I lost on that property, which wouldn't have cash flowed, would have had me spending all of my money, and it would have delayed by years me buying the next place. So, like I said at the time, I really wasn't very happy about this. But looking back, I'm really happy that this didn't happen because I actually now believe in the income snowball. Every time you buy a cash flowing asset, your income grows and it will snowball, making your investment times faster, how long it takes to save the reserves or the down payment. At the time, spending that $1,150 bothered me so much is when you're saving a down payment, and I'm putting down 25%, every $1,000 that I save means that the price that I can offer goes up by $4,000. So to spend that $1,150 meant that I was $4,000 lower on what I could afford to offer on the next property. Here are my takeaways, and I really hope this helps you, especially if you're towards the beginning of your investing. First, patience. As you're learning the industry, that's not a time to be making quick decisions. It's entirely possible to be stuck in analysis paralysis, where you're trying to do too much data gathering before you take any action. And when you do get to the point of taking action, don't get carried away. Don't let the money in the bank burn such a big hole in your pocket that you want to spend it on anything. Make sure that you're putting it to work in a place that's going to build towards your financial freedom, that's going to grow your wealth, that will actually cash flow based on real data, not just what you hope it will do. And at the beginning of today's video, I said I was going to explain the logo on my shirt. One of the benefits of financial freedom is that it's given me the ability to found a nonprofit that does job placement assistance. What I focus on is non-driving jobs in the transportation industry. In Washington state alone, there's a little over 6,000 6,000 registered transportation companies. Those are 6,000 employers that have operations, management, HR, IT, warehouse, driver, mechanic. Every position you can imagine exists in transportation. And whenever there's a job opening in the transportation sector, hardly anybody applies for it. When we think of trucking companies, almost all of us picture the truck driver, and we forget about the person in the warehouse or the office that made it possible for that truck to be on the road. So what my nonprofit does, Transportation Placement Services, or TPS, is for free. We help people find jobs with trucking companies. We will talk about what types of resumes work best in transportation. We'll show you which companies are hiring, how they hire. And for free, I'm able to run a nonprofit that helps people find a job without having to charge the person or the employer a penny for what we do. It's really hard to put into words how exponentially better your life becomes when you figure out how to help people. Being able to help people with a nonprofit and get gainful employment, being able to answer questions in the finance groups like BiggerPockets, it's so rewarding. That one of the reasons I'm making these videos is to see how many people that I can reach and show them that, in 10 years or less, the average person can reach financial independence and make work optional. Just means that you're not working just for a paycheck. You can work because it's something you love to do. The purpose of the logo is from the movie Office Space. You can notice the red stapler. And I wanted to go with Transportation Placement Services so that every now and then I can actually ask for TPS reports. Did I point out that I'm a nerd? I really hope I made it worth your time logging into this video today. If you thought you got anything out of it, if you thought it had any value, please hit like, hit subscribe, share it with a friend. Maybe they can learn from this and hopefully not make some of the mistakes that I've made. Until the next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.